number 4, author's purpose. Notice I'm writing the word author. That's so important because sometimes our tendency when we read is to think of the reader, which actually is extremely important in many other courses, to respond, write essays, and many of the other kinds of tasks you'll be doing with your reading. But in this course, we're trying to focus on the text itself. And so we need to look at what the author is intending. So, in other words, what are the writer's intentions? In other words, what does the writer want from the reader? What kind of level of interaction? Does the author want from the reader? We will talk about 5 different levels. Now, before we get there, I want to remind where we are on our map. If you recall, from the very beginning of the semester, I mapped everything out. If you take any text, there's 3 dimensions. Every text has some stuff, some content. And as readers, we ask the question, what is in the text? We've covered 3 skills so far that help us answer that question. And I'm going to abbreviate. The first one is main idea, MI. And that's taking a big look at the entire picture of what's in the whole text. So it's very general. And then we zoomed in, and we looked at very specific small parts of a text. And those are the supporting details, or SD is my abbreviation for it. And then we just finished vocabulary and context, or VC is my abbreviation for that, which is taking that micro look at any one word inside the text and using the other words around it, that becomes the context, to figure out the meaning of that word so we can kind of keep the flow of reading. So we go from this zoom in on one word to a detail or to a small piece to the whole picture. And all 3 of these skills are dealing with the content of what's inside the text. There's also the question how. How is it put together? Now, we're not getting to that yet. We're actually going to come back around to that for test 2. And right now we're going to settle in on the question why. What is the reason why an author writes something? And that brings us to that 4th skill. I'm going to abbreviate AP, author's purpose. So that's what we're doing here. That's where we are in the big picture. And we're taking a look at, as best we can anyway, how do we know what the author wants from us being the reader? And we're going to use 5 levels, or in other words, 5 different purposes that an author can have. And I'm going to go from high to low. This scale that I'm using here represents the desired level of interaction. With the reader. And I'm going to add, just to make absolutely clear whose desired level of interaction it is, and again, it's the author's. So we may not react the way an author intends for us to react. That does not change the author's purpose. The author's purpose is what's in the text, and how we interact with the text can be a different thing. So we have to put that on hold for now and try to focus in and find this intention. So let's start with the lowest. So the lowest level is just to inform you. So really the writer doesn't want much from you at all. They're just like FYI. Here's some details. And so I call this the take it or leave it. You can use it to learn, you can use it to do whatever you want to, but the author doesn't really have any investment in whether or not you do anything with it. They won't really care if you go learn something or whatever. So this is really minimal. From here I'm going to jump to the maximum. And the reason why, that way we could see the absolute contrast from low to high. So there's the extreme low that the author wants nothing from you at all, to something very specific, and that's going to be the high. So when an author wants something from you real specific, we call it to persuade. And I use what I call the 3 B's. Let me get this 5 levels out of the way. Oops, paper needs to stick. All right, so we're talking about the highest level of interaction. So we've got to persuade. The 3 B's. Why do I use B's? Well, because they want your belief. Okay? In other words, they want your brain. All right, now, another thing that they may want you to do, and this is totally tied in, of course, with your beliefs, but they might want you to buy something. So they want your money. And they want your body. Now, what I mean by this is they want you to behave in a certain way. So they want you to do something. So again, the buy is kind of like redundant because that's a behavior, but still, you'll probably remember the 3 B's. Anytime an author's trying to get you to think something, change your mind about something, do something, or behave in any kind of way, that's persuasion. So this is the highest level. There's 3 others in between. There's these 5 levels. All right, so now I'm going to go back from the basic to inform and kind of use an upgrade system. So what happens if the author wants just a little bit more from you? Well, the next step up is to describe, because there's a little more they may want from you in the sense that instead of just take it or leave it for your information, I call it for your eyes. Not your eyes only, though, because it might be any of the 5 senses, but our most typical we use when we're describing things in words is to paint a picture, to see something. So they don't want you to just read it, they want you to visualize it. Now, they don't necessarily want you to do anything with it, but they do want you to at least hold that picture. So you see, it's a little bit more than just simply informing. Now, if to that picture they add something other than just a scene, we upgrade to narrate. So instead of just plain old information or even just a picture, now what we've got are some characters. And those characters are in some picture or in some setting, and you guessed it, there's a plot. Right? So this is the type of situation now where there's a story, and so what the author wants from you is to follow it. They want you to go along for the ride. They want you to do more than just imagine a scene or a picture in your mind. They want you to kind of journey with the plot, to go with the sequence of events. And then, if in addition to seeing a picture or hearing a story, or maybe even just some information, they want you to feel something, it's entertainment. So there's pretty much 3 emotions that I talk about: to laugh, to cry, or to scream. If an author wants you to feel emotion, they're trying to entertain you. So, rather than your belief in your brain and in your mind, they want to be in your heart. They want you to escape for a little while into a story or a scene or even just a joke. If the author's purpose is to try to get you to walk away with a feeling after hearing that joke or that picture or that story, it's entertainment. Now, it's entertainment even if you don't laugh, even if you don't cry, and even if you're not scared. If the author was trying to get you to feel emotion, then it's entertainment. And the same with persuasion, don't forget. Your reaction is separate from the author's intention.